Attention! If you relate to any of the diagnostic criteria in the following presentation, seek the appropriate professional medical help. Do not self-diagnose. Take care of yourself. You deserve proper health care. For this presentation, we will be focusing on gender dysphoria. Before understanding gender dysphoria, we must first understand gender. What is gender? Gender defines a man and a woman based on the socially constructed norms, behaviors, and roles expected of them. Given that gender is a social construct, the gender roles of each gender identity varies according to the culture of the particular society and can be altered over time through influence. What is the difference between gender and sex? Gender, though commonly associated with sex, is very different and certainly not interchangeable. Sex is the biological and physiological differences among boys, girls, and intersex individuals such as chromosomes, hormones, and reproductive organs, whilst gender is a social difference. What is gender dysphoria? Gender dysphoria is the existence of an incompatibility between the individual's experienced or expressed gender and the gender assigned to them at birth. For this presentation, we will be focusing on gender dysphoria in children. According to the American Psychiatric Association, in order for a child to be diagnosed with gender dysphoria, one would have to experience 6 of the following criterions, number 1 being compulsory for at least 6 months. 1. A strong desire to be of the other gender or an insistence that one is the other gender. 2. In boys, a strong preference for cross-dressing or stimulating female attire. In girls, a strong preference for wearing typical masculine clothing and resistance for wearing feminine clothing. 3. A strong preference for cross-gender roles in make-believe or fantasy play. 4. A strong preference for toys, games, or activities stereotypically used or engaged in by the other gender. 5. A strong preference for playmates of the other gender. 6. In boys, a strong rejection of typical masculine toys, games, and activities, and a strong avoidance of rough and tumble play. In girls, a strong rejection of typical feminine toys, games, and activities. 7. A strong dislike for one's sexual anatomy. 8. A strong desire for the primary and/or secondary sex characteristics that matches one's experienced gender. Primary sex characteristics are directly required for reproduction and are acquired at birth. These are the penis, scrotum, vagina, uterus, fallopian tube, cervix, and so on. Secondary sex characteristics are not required for reproduction but are acquired during puberty. For example, in males, these can be facial and chest hair, slimmer hips, broad upper body, and fast production of muscle mass. In females, it can be a lack of body hair, round hips, mature breasts, and a menstrual cycle. B. The condition is associated with clinically significant distress or impairment in school, social, or other important areas of functioning. Which research designs can be used to further analyze gender dysphoria? Surveys, case studies, and naturalistic observations. What are surveys? Surveys are research methods used to collect data on and measure behaviors and beliefs as well as gain information and insight on various topics and perspectives. The sample usually consists of individuals who are interested in the topic. Standardized procedures are used to prevent bias, skewed responses, and keep a level playing field. Since the age of technology and the current pandemic, most surveys are conducted online. Surveys are predominantly used to collect data that is easily classified without considerations of individual input and comments. For example, age, sex, and occupation. Surveys with parental consent can be used to gather data on the assigned gender of each child and their preferred clothing, toys, games, and playmates. Advantages: 1. Higher response rate. 2. Time efficient and inexpensive. Disadvantages: not all questions are answered. Does not allow for personalization or perspective on choices. How can surveys be applied to research gender dysphoria? Recognizing that the subject is a child, it should be acknowledged that they may not be able to grasp certain concepts or articulate certain preferences, so surveys with age-appropriate content can be used in preschools. In conjunction with the surveys, a longitudinal case study that spans over a specific period of time can be used to observe these preschoolers. Special attention can be placed on subjects who would have portrayed behaviors similar to the diagnostic criteria of gender dysphoria. Research on gender dysphoria concludes that if the dysphoria relinquishes during the early adolescence, these subjects, when adults, will be likely to express the gender identity assigned to them. They are more likely to identify as homosexual, bisexual, or another sexual orientation that is not synonymous with heterosexuality. Subjects whose dysphoria continues into and after puberty are more likely to continue experiencing gender dysphoria in adulthood. What are case studies? A case study is a meticulous research method which consists in in-depth examination of the subjects. This is used to obtain thorough information in order to learn as much as possible. It consists of interviews, creating a history of occurrences, as well as reviewing documents. This is commonly used to understand exceptional individuals such as serial offenders and individuals of high IQ. It helps us comprehend why individuals act in a specific way as well as help account for certain traits. Case studies are predominantly qualitative but often use quantitative data to help justify findings and make sense of trends. This can be used to assiduously study a subject. This method can be used on a child who would have shown relation to the aforementioned criteria in the DSM-5 based on the findings from the survey. Creating a history of when the individual would have begun displaying these behaviors can be used to determine if they have gender dysphoria. Advantages: it is comprehensive and a hypothesis can be generated. Disadvantages: limited representation as one individual cannot represent all demographics, and it is costly and time-consuming. How can case studies be applied to research gender dysphoria? It must consider and cater to the fact that the subjects are minors. Precautions have to be placed when phrasing questions as well as assisting subjects articulate their thoughts without skewing their perspective. The following are strategic activities that can be implemented. Ask the child to make a Christmas list for Santa with the toys they desire. Ask the subject to create a self-portrait. Properly formulating questions are essential to the validity of research since some characteristics of gender dysphoria are not exclusive. Ask the subject to create an ideal wardrobe. What are naturalistic observations? This is a research design which consists of the examination of subjects in their natural environment without stimulation. In a laboratory setting, subjects are likely to act more modestly and mask second-nature reactions, whilst in their natural environment, they will have reactions, preferences, and perspectives which are not slant. This is pertinent in ensuring accuracy of research conclusions since there is no misrepresentation. Advantages: Number 1. Genuine reactions from the subjects further endorses the authenticity of the data collected and conclusions made. Disadvantages: Number 1. There is no opportunity to learn the past. Advantages: Number 2. This enables the studying of a potentially unethical topic. Not all topics we desire to research are appropriate to stimulate. For example, discussing complex topics such as gender with children can become unethical if extreme caution is not placed. Some questions and simulations can negatively impact the child's development. Parents may also be skeptical about allowing their children to be examined, which shortens the potential sample size. Disadvantage number 2. There is no control. Due to the focal point of this research method, it is difficult to stimulate and invoke reactions. Researchers have to make do with whatever data they are able to collect. How can naturalistic observation be applied to research gender dysphoria? Children can be observed in school during class and playtime. This ensures that children are in an environment where they can be themselves and do not have to act differently or suppress natural urges. No conditions are manipulated. For instance, researchers can observe the gender-specific demographic a subject chooses to interact with. Though it is acknowledged that a girl playing contact sports and a boy playing house should not be judged as peculiar, it is pertinent to note these behaviors as they can be used to create a trend of similarities between the diagnostic criteria of gender dysphoria and the observed behaviors of the subject. Please note that all references are also listed in the description box below. Thank you for watching.